Hey guys, so I'm in bummy clothes, bandana, my hair's up, and I decided to put lipstick on because who else decides to wear athletic clothing and then put lipstick on besides me? So today I'm back with another video, and today is kind of going to be a discussion video. I have watched one other video about this type of topic before, but I decided I would make my own version of it because I obviously have some thoughts and opinions on this topic, and so I decided I would share it with you guys to see if you guys have the same thoughts and opinions as I do. So what I've realized is people feel the need to read a certain number of books and a certain type of books to achieve an extensive monthly wrap-up or to complete their TBR goal for Goodreads, and most of the time these people end up neglecting certain books. What I'm talking about is big books and versus small books. Today I will be talking about that because I know for me personally I have been intimidated by bigger books. I'm that person that wants to read as many books as I can for the month and to reach my goal. I am that person. I'm trying to stay away from being that person, but I sometimes am that person. And I've realized that's not how reading is. Reading is for your own enjoyment. Reading is not a competition for us to be competing in. Yes, unless you are actually competing in a competition to see how many books you can read in a month, then you do you. But half the time we are all just reading to read. And I am realizing this, that if I sit there and just constantly pick these small books off my shelf, staying away from these bigger books, then I'm missing out on some more adventures because I'm afraid that reading this bigger book is going to take me 12 years to read, and then I'm not going to be able to read any other book after that. So I decided I would compile a short list of pros and cons for each type of book, and I'm going to go through that with you guys because I know for me I definitely need reassurance that reading big books is fine and reading small books is fine as well. I am going to start with the bigger books, and I am not going to separate these into pros and cons. You could decide for yourself which is a pro and which is a con. But bigger books, there's more story to offer, and yes, it might take longer, but that means there's more development for the world, more development for the characters, and more development for story and relationships, and I really enjoy that in stories because I love to get to know the characters, I love to get attached to them, I love to know the world, I love to be able to picture that world in my head, and big books offers just that, and it makes me happy reading those types of books because then I know a lot more and I'm not left wondering, well, what happened with this person or what happened in this and how does this world work? But a lot of the times, like I said, like me, a lot of people are intimidated by these big books because of the fact they take longer to read, they're heavier, let me say that. Like, you get hand cramps trying to hold this. I'm sitting there trying to read Game of Thrones right now, and I'm like, how do I hold this book? Like, it's this thick, my hand's cramping, I have to like lay down and place it, and then hope the pages don't go poof. Like, big books are just heavy and bulky, and sometimes people don't really like that, and so they're intimidated by that. Also, going along with they take longer to read, you can't read as many big books in a time as you can read as many small books unless you're a type of person who reads big books faster than smaller books. I have not met the type of person, but if you're that type of person, please hit me up and tell me how you live your life because I would love to know that secret. Another thing, lastly, for big books, some of these big books are written by these well-known, amazing authors, and so many other people have read these books and they love them. And then we're sitting here on the sidelines like, big books say what? Kind of just are afraid of these big books when we could be experiencing some amazing authors' writing. Now that I've touched on some of the bigger books, pros and cons, I'm gonna go to smaller books because I have quite many of those on my shelves. For me, what I've realized is smaller books, one, you can read a lot faster unless, okay, not all small books you can read faster. It might take you the same amount of time to read a bigger book as a smaller book because of font sizing. I have realized this with classic books, and that made me realize that I can only read classic books on ebooks because the font's usually so freaking small, and so it takes a while to read because the font is so small, but still the book is like 90 pages of small font, And so it's still going to take a shorter time to read than, let's say, a Lord of the Rings book that's like 400 pages of that same small font. Smaller books, to me, usually seem more faster paced because they have a short amount of time to develop everything and to get characters into position, get characters' personalities in check, and to get a world created. And sometimes fast-paced books are what we need. Especially if we are in a reading slump, we do not want a slow book to make us more slumpy than we already are. A fast-paced book keeps us engaged, and it's like this every second, especially if it's action-packed. You get to know the characters in a shorter amount of time than you would in a longer book. It might take you 100 pages in the shorter book to fully know Jane than versus the 400 pages in a bigger book to fully know said Jane. And so that's something that I think is awesome, is because we get to get attached to the characters beforehand, and it leaves for a greater impact at the end. Also, going back to your hand cramping while trying to hold a big book, smaller books don't give you as many hand cramps. I have realized that they are less heavy, therefore easier to hold, unless it's this hardcover that has heavy pages, because then, well, we're all screwed. I have never found a book that wasn't uncomfortable to hold after a while, and that's the struggle of being a reader, because you gotta hold that book. And lastly, I have about smaller books is they are easier to carry around. Try fitting 6 big books in a suitcase on vacation with you versus the 6 small books you're trying to bring for vacation. It is definitely a lot easier to fit small books in areas than bigger books. I tried this the other day going to fill out paperwork for my job. I carried Game of Thrones with me in my purse, and it took up everything. And it took me forever to get my wallet out of the bag because I had to make sure my book didn't go flying everywhere. It's well known that it is easier to carry around a smaller book. So you guys probably are like, where the heck is this girl going with this? Because, those lists were everywhere, and I am so sorry, because it's just one of those days where my brain is like, hey, say this, and my mouth says another thing. But what I'm trying to say is, don't be intimidated by big books. Don't sit there and try and read so many small books because you feel like you have to complete this Goodreads challenge or a huge extensive monthly wrap-up. Pick up a big book. It might take you longer to read, but it'll be a fun adventure. And afterwards you can read a couple small books and then pick up another big book. So for me, I have been sitting here and I bought this box set a couple months ago because of Christmas, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start it in the summertime because those are huge books. And I stayed true to myself. I finally started a Game of Thrones the other day, and actually it was yesterday or something, and I'm already almost on page 200. So it doesn't really matter if a book is big, you can still make progress through it within a few days, because if you sit down and read and have time and don't have a social life like me, you can still finish a book in the fastest time possible, like reading a small book. I honestly have no idea what I'm saying, so if you have stayed to this point, I applaud you, because I'm probably going to end this and be like, what's wrong with me? But if you like this video, give it a huge thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. If you agree with me or have any thoughts or opinions, leave those in the comments down below, because I would love to chit chat with you guys. Also, if you'd like to be my friend on any of the social medias, I have those links in the description box. Until next time, bye! My phone keeps going off, and I bet you it's my boyfriend. Guys, can we just... He's literally perfection. He's so cute. I probably should respond to that text. Off-season workout, just holding books up above my head for hours on end every day. Yep, I'll tell my coach I did that all summer. The 6 small books trying to fit in vacation. Oh, I can't reach it. I have a big head and little arms.